Surviving a walker apocalypse isn't just about swinging a baseball bat or aiming for the head. It's a brutal game of calculated risks, where every choice could mean life or death. One of the most overlooked, but absolutely critical strategies is how you protect your body from the very first threat, the bite. Let's dive into why what you wear can be the difference between survival and turning into a snack. Wear bite-proof armor over fashion. Walker bites and scratches aren't just a nuisance in The Walking Dead, they're the deadliest threat anyone faces. Every living survivor carries the pathogen that turns them into a walker if they die without destroying their brain. So one bite or scratch that breaks the skin is a death sentence. The show doesn't always state this outright, but armor isn't just useful, it's absolutely essential. Yet most survivors roam around in casual clothes like denim jackets or simple shirts that leave large areas of skin exposed. Characters run into hordes with bare arms or short sleeves as if zombies skip the fashion police. This isn't careless, it's tactical suicide. Moderate protection like layered leather, thick denim, or improvised padding seriously cuts the chance of a walker's teeth breaking skin. It's the difference between a scare and a slow, agonizing death. When the show does show proper protection, riot gear, heavy coats, or makeshift armor, it's a quiet statement. This gear isn't about looking cool, it's survival gear. Bite-proof armor acts as frontline risk management, like a bulletproof vest or motorcycle jacket. It silently prevents death way better than sword fighting skills or shouting bravado. But for some reason, it's rarely emphasized or treated as fundamental gear. Fans offer theories for why survivors don't suit up more. Some say the show favors visual storytelling and vulnerability over realism, because a leather jacket looks way cooler than a bulky vest. Others mention in-universe reasons like southern heat making heavy armor unbearable, or limited resources and the need for mobility. But here's the kicker. If a little extra fabric could have saved Glenn or stopped major characters from horrible bites, why isn't it standard? Protective clothing in The Walking Dead should be as vital as food or water. It's a silent shield against death, a small choice that could have changed whole storylines. This isn't a world where heroics alone win. It's a numbers game of risk management. You can be the toughest fighter alive, but walk into a horde with bare arms, and you're inviting the inevitable. The show never spells this out, and canon evidence is moderate. No official survival manual crowns armor the king of tactics, but the biological facts are clear. Bite wounds mean death. Every bit of mechanical resistance lowers the odds. So next time you see a character walk into danger without proper coverage, remember, fashion killed that one, not the zombie. But if you think dressing for safety is boring, wait until you hear the next rule. Because in The Walking Dead, silence isn't just golden, it's faster than a bullet. Silence is faster than a bullet. Walkers are basically noise magnets. Loud sounds like gunfire, shouting, or even clanking metal act like a flare, drawing them from all directions, sometimes miles away. Imagine a sniper shot echoing through the empty streets. That sharp report doesn't just take out one zombie, it might summon dozens more within minutes. So, the loud equals deadlier rule is one of the most crucial survival lessons nobody really spells out. Before you tune out thinking this is obvious, hear me out. Silence in The Walking Dead is as much a weapon as any blade or bullet. Survivors who rely on melee weapons or stealth don't just have a tactical edge, they preserve their freedom to operate without waking every walker within earshot. Rick and his crew learned this the hard way when early gunfights snowballed into massive hordes, forcing brutal retreats and long-term nightmares. Every shot seemingly solved a problem until it created 10 more. Gunfire is a trap. It might clear your immediate path, but also turns manageable threats into overwhelming hordes that can trap you in choke points, turning every escape route into a death sentence. Noise doesn't just affect the moment, it shifts the undead's behavior in your area for hours or days. One careless burst, and survivors might find themselves defending a new walker mob instead of moving on peacefully. This goes beyond just walkers too. Humans are just as sensitive to noise. Hostile groups can zero in on gunshots, yelling, or crashes. Sound discipline protects you not only from the dead, but also from the living predators who use noise as a homing beacon for raids or ambushes. Silence becomes a shield against both kinds of threats, letting survivors sneak past danger and keep their position secret. The world of The Walking Dead repeatedly drives home, often more by what it shows than what it says, that silence is strategy. Characters who ignore this pay with their lives. Those who master it gain precious control. However, this rule isn't always followed consistently on screen. Fans frequently gripe about moments where characters blast away with guns despite knowing better, sometimes feeling like the narrative sacrifices sense for spectacle. Still, the core evidence is rock solid. Walkers track sound. The games, comics, and the show itself confirm noise attraction as a fundamental walker trait, and silence as a key survival tactic gets nods in multiple scenes and developer commentary. It's canonical and strategic. So here's the kicker. Rushing in like you're in an action movie might save seconds, but costs survival days. Moving quietly, sticking to melee, and controlling noise shapes your environment long term, not just in the heat of battle. And that means silence is literally faster than a bullet. Next up, we'll break down why you can't just wander into the wild without a planned escape route or meeting point. Because when bad things happen, and they will, knowing where to run or regroup isn't just smart, it's life or death. Never travel without an escape route or meeting point. Travel in the Walking Dead universe is a high-stakes gamble where every step could mean sudden death, capture, or the worst, being fragmented from your group with no clue where your people are. The world is volatile. One minute, a path looks safe. The next, it's overrun by walkers or hostile humans. Yet despite this, surprisingly few characters plan fallback options or clear meeting spots before heading out. That's a mistake that costs them dearly, again and again. Before you think this is just common sense nobody mentions, hear me out. The show and comics consistently thread storylines where separation becomes a prolonged nightmare. Carol wandering lost for days, Maggie scrambling after Glenn, or groups chasing signs to Terminus that promise rescue but hide threats. These moments aren't just dramatic filler. They underline how vital prearranged escape routes and meeting points really are. The basic idea is this. An escape route is your failsafe acknowledging the mission might go sideways, giving you a mapped out path away from danger. A meeting point is where everyone agrees to regroup if things do fall apart, preventing endless wandering in hostile territory. Together, these plans carve chaos into manageable segments. When walkers swarm or human enemies ambush, you activate your escape route without freezing up, then head to the meeting point instead of guessing or panicking. Look at the Terminus signs, spray-painted markers guiding scattered survivors down train tracks towards supposed sanctuary. On paper, it's a brilliant fixed meeting point strategy. In practice, it becomes a trap as Terminus residents exploit predictable regrouping to sack and imprison newcomers. This shows that static meeting points aren't a free pass. They can be double-edged swords, offering reunification but also vulnerability to human predators who stalk those signals. This raises a crucial debate among fans. How feasible is it to have fixed meeting points or escape routes in such a fluid environment? Herds migrate unpredictably, weather shifts, and communities rise and fall. Some argue survivors must keep contingency plans simple so they're memorable under stress, maybe just one clear fallback location and a single escape path. Others think multiple backup points are necessary despite the complexity. Either way, the key is pre-planning something, anything, so panic doesn't paralyze your reaction when all hell breaks loose. The psychological value can't be overstated. Knowing where to run and where to find your people transforms chaos into purposeful movement. It halts the frozen fear that otherwise dooms characters to wandering alone, exposed, and vulnerable. Survivors without these plans end up wandering for days, caught in walker-infested zones, or forced into dangerous negotiations with strangers, all because they had no agreed backup. Here's the thing. No amount of firepower or toughness fixes what poor planning creates. The narrative repeatedly punishes those who travel blind, whether it's Glenn's early separation or the infamous Lost in the Woods episodes. So the takeaway is clear. The constant threat demands more than brash action. It demands foresight. But if you think that's stressful, wait until you realize walkers aren't just dangerous when they're actively moving. The threat, even when they're sitting still, is a whole next level nightmare. Walkers are dangerous even when dormant. Walkers are terrifying enough when they're shambling toward you. But here's a survival rule nobody shouts about. Walkers can be just as dangerous when they're totally still. That pile of corpses you spotted in the corner, it's not a pile of dead bodies. It's a ticking time bomb of undead waiting to snap away. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. Episodes like Acheron Part 1 show entire stacks of walkers that look like inanimate heaps until noise or touch jolts them back to life. They lie dormant, motionless, until something disturbs their senses. It's not just a creepy visual trick. It's a repeated pattern in the show. The official line is that walkers are driven by sound and scent, shuffling relentlessly in search of living prey. But here's where it gets weird. Decay, rot, and environmental factors degrade their senses over time. Some walkers enter a low-activity state, appearing inert until provoked. That latent danger means a silent room filled with still corpses can erupt into chaos the moment someone makes a wrong move or a single noise. Survivors in the world of The Walking Dead quickly learn this isn't an ignore it if it's not moving kind of threat. You can't just walk through a cleared space assuming assuming it's safe. Every corpse could wake up, and usually does, if disturbed. Tactically, this forces survivors to approach quietly, probe carefully, and avoid contact entirely with any motionless walker. Treat every still body like it's a live grenade. This changes the entire risk game. Cleared rooms are only snapshots in time. Walkers can remain dormant for minutes, hours, or longer, lurking just beneath the surface. It means no safe spot is completely safe, and vigilance must be constant. Survivors need to periodically reassess spaces because today's quiet pile of walkers is tomorrow's attack. The fanbase debates this a lot. Some see the dormant walker concept as a clever way to keep tension high, emphasizing unpredictability. Others argue it messes with earlier seasons' portrayal of walkers as constantly active once prey is nearby. There's also disagreement over how often dormancy happens and what exactly triggers reactivation. But the evidence from the show and nuanced analysis of walker sensory degradation makes clear one thing: stillness is a trap. Walkers rely mostly on hearing and smell, which fade with decay. So dormant walkers need closer or louder stimuli to wake up. That's why some near motionless corpses suddenly lurch only when bumped or when a noise echoes nearby. It's a chilling reminder that a calm scene can explode into horror at any second. This rule means survivors can never wholly trust their eyes or the apparent safety of an empty room. Danger hides in plain sight, waiting silently for its moment. It demands a whole new kind of careful, slow-moving exploration, because rushing blindly toward an unresponsive pile of bodies could be the last mistake you ever make. If you think a single motionless walker is scary, wait until you learn why covering yourself in walker guts is the next step in survival. Cover yourself in walker guts. Smearing yourself in walker guts is the ultimate survival hack nobody likes to talk about. It's disgusting, desperate, and turns your skin into a walking horror show. But here's the thing, it works. Rick Grimes explains it clearly. Cover yourself with walker blood and entrails to mask your human scent. Since walkers hunt mainly by smell, they'll think you're one of them. It's the last resort camouflage that lets you slip through dense herds without getting eaten. Before you gag or roll your eyes, hear me out. This isn't a cheap horror movie trick. Rick calmly spells it out. Gut these things. Cover ourselves with the insides. He says, make them think we're like them, but don't think it's just slapping on gore and strolling through. You have to move slow, stay silent, and keep calm because any sudden noise or flinch breaks the illusion. Walkers don't ignore you just because you smell like them. You have to act like one too. The biology behind this tactic is brutal. Covering yourself in rotting blood and digestive fluids means serious infection risk from nasty bacteria or diseases in those walkers. It's not just the bites that kill. Fluids can cause deadly sepsis or secondary infections if they touch your eyes, mouth, or open wounds. Survivors only try this when hiding, shooting, or fleeing aren't options. It's a sick gamble. Risk sickness and trauma to avoid instant death. That psychological surrender is huge. Coating yourself in someone else's gruesome decay blurs the line between living and dead. It's an existential nightmare. You're alive, but literally wearing death. Rick's cold pragmatism shows survivors accepting this horrifying fact, normalizing the grotesque just to last a little longer. It forces everyone attempting this to face how blurred the human walker line really is. Fans debate how well this makes biological sense. Does the pathogen spread through fluids like that? Shouldn't any contact mean instant infection? The show leaves some doubt. Some call it tactical genius. Others, absurdly risky. Some say long exposure might sicken survivors without immediately turning them, fitting with the idea that everyone already carries the pathogen and it only activates after death or trauma. Bottom line, this guts method is an emergency tool, not a foolproof shield. Evidence for this survival hack is strong in The Walking Dead's world. We see multiple uses, with Rick's explanation as canon. Masking scent by smearing on walker innards makes tactical sense given the importance of smell for walkers detecting humans. But the exact infection risk and biology remain ambiguous. It's partly left to fan debate and imagination. Still, it's one of the series' most memorable and chilling survival tricks. So, yes, covering yourself in guts is disgusting, dangerous, and psychologically brutal, but it works. It's one of few ways to survive if you need to walk through a walker herd instead of fighting or running. Every step is a gamble with death and sanity, and that captures the raw desperation of surviving The Walking Dead. But if you think masking yourself in guts is extreme, wait until you hear about another tactic that turns lurking walkers into walking scent shields. Use neutered walkers as scent shields. Michonne's signature tactic of dragging around chained walkers stripped of their arms and jaws isn't just a creepy fashion statement, it's a brutally effective survival hack. Before you roll your eyes at the idea of pet walkers, hear me out. The walkers she keeps aren't just undead pets. They function as mobile scent shields and bodyguards, turning deadly enemies into walking camouflage that buys her precious seconds in life or death moments. On the surface, Michonne's stripped-down walkers seem like a bizarre personal quirk, but there's solid method behind the madness. By removing their arms and jaws, she neuters their biting threat while preserving the unmistakable scent and shambling presence of the undead. This lets her use them as a buffer zone. Other walkers smell the familiar rotting flesh and moans and assume Michonne is one of them. She becomes the Walking Dead, literally, disguised in plain sight. This tactic leverages walker herd instincts. They're drawn to human scent, but cluster with similar undead bodies. When Michonne moves surrounded by her neutered, she creates a misleading impression that discourages attacks and draws fewer curious bites. The walkers visually and olfactorily mask her living human scent, making aggressive responses less likely. What really sets this apart is the emotional cost hidden beneath the practicality. These aren't random walkers Michonne chains up. They are the reanimated corpses of her boyfriend and his best friend. Using loved ones' undead forms as living shields is a heartbreaking sacrifice, and a stark reminder that survival requires wrenching compromises. Michonne weaponizes grief itself, dragging her memories and trauma alongside her like armor. From a tactical standpoint, this strategy redefines walkers from pure threats into modular survival tools. They're not just enemies to be shot or avoided, they can be adapted into protective assets when their biting functions are surgically disabled, but their scent and herd signaling remain intact. It's a brutally ingenious way to turn the world's deadliest predators into a personal defense system. Of course, fans debate how practical the tactic really is. Some argue it only works because walkers are relatively mindless and rely heavily on scent and visual cues, while others question whether other walkers truly get fooled every time, or if Michonne's pets sometimes attract additional danger. There's also the sticky ethical side. Desecrating loved ones even in death raises questions about humanity and sanity in an apocalyptic world. But the evidence is strong and undeniable. The tactic is explicitly shown and explained both in the comics and TV series. It aligns with well-established walker behavior patterns around scent and herd instincts, and analyses confirm that such pet walkers serve as semi-permanent camouflage far beyond the quick, gut-smearing trick. Michonne's heartbreaking mastery of this method cements it as one of the most iconic survival rules nobody ever talks about, blending human ingenuity with tragic psychological resilience. If you think using pet walkers is wild, wait until you learn why avoiding the living is often more important than running from the dead. Avoid the living more than the dead. You might think walkers are the biggest threat in The Walking Dead, but that's only half the story. The truth is, living humans cause far more deaths, betrayals, and psychological trauma than the shambling undead ever do. And I can prove it. Sure, the walkers are relentless. They bite, infect, and tear apart anyone unlucky enough to get within reach. Their behavior is brutally simple. Drawn to noise and smell, they attack anything alive, and the only way to stop them is by destroying the brain. This makes their threat obvious, predictable, and mostly physical. Humans? That's an entirely different ballgame. They aren't just dangerous, they are terrifying because they can think, plan, and manipulate. They lie, deceive, and set traps with chilling intent. Unlike the walkers whose actions are driven by instinct, humans make conscious, calculated choices filled with all the horrors of survival, desperation, and cruelty. They create false sanctuaries, lure victims into ambushes, and trade trust for flesh and blood in ways the undead could never. Look no further than the Terminus arc. On the outside, Terminus presents itself as a safe haven promising food, shelter, and community, but underneath, it's a cannibalistic trap designed to capture and harvest survivors like livestock. The residents don't just wait around. They use rail lines, signs, and psychological manipulation to draw people in. Their methodical approach to hunting fellow humans is a level of savagery that completely overshadows any zombie threat in the series. Rick's iconic speech to Alexandria's residents, where he declares, "We are the Walking Dead," nails this grim truth. The worst monsters in this world aren't the undead, they're the living people desperately clinging to power, driven by fear, cruelty, and the will to survive at all costs. The true horror lives in humanity itself, not some mindless corpse. This insight changes everything about how survivors must navigate the world. They have to be on guard against other people first and foremost. Vetting strangers carefully isn't just good advice, it's a crucial survival skill. The damage one calculated human can do, physically, emotionally, even psychologically, dwarfs what a walker bite can achieve. The constant and exhausting balancing act becomes deciding when to trust, when to isolate, and how much skepticism is necessary without shutting yourself off entirely. Fan debates in the community highlight just how central this tension is. Some argue that rebuilding society means opening yourself up to risk through trust, and that vulnerability is necessary to reclaim any shred of civilization. Others lean hard into paranoia, convinced that the only way to survive is total suspicion of everyone around you. What's clear is this: in The Walking Dead, survival depends on walking a razor's edge, never forgetting that the biggest threat might be hiding behind a smile or a handshake. Unlike zombies who follow set, predictable patterns, humans can adapt, switch tactics on the fly, fake their intentions, and strike from unexpected angles. They are the apex predators of this new world order, combining guile with raw cruelty. Recognizing this means prioritizing caution around the living, sometimes even more than with the dead, is a psychological skill every survivor must master. So, if you think the slow, groaning hordes are your biggest danger, think again. The real threats wear skin, carry grudges, and play mind games so lethal they can kill just as deadlier than any bite. Next up, we'll break down why surviving behind safe walls is so tricky, the mental and physical toll of never letting your guard down once inside a sanctuary. Do not get soft behind walls. Do not get soft behind walls. Walled communities like Alexandria are supposed to be havens from the apocalypse, but in The Walking Dead, those walls often become traps of complacency. Rick's arrival at Alexandria immediately highlights the sharp contrast. His group is battle-hardened, paranoid in all the right ways, while many residents have let their guard down, believing that walls mean safety. But here's the thing, walls can't replace vigilance, and softness behind them is dangerous. Before you brush this off as obvious, remember Rick's iconic "We are the Walking Dead" speech. He's not just drama baiting, he's laying down a survival philosophy. He stresses that the real threat isn't just the walkers outside, but the rot creeping in from within, the loss of readiness, training, and psychological toughness. It's a call to refuse to relax, no matter how secure things seem. Alexandria's story backs this up. Early on, residents are shown living relatively normal lives, kids playing, people gardening, like the apocalypse paused behind the gate. Meanwhile, Rick's crew pushes constant combat drills, weapon maintenance, watch rotations, and endless scenario planning. The tension between these mindsets foreshadows disaster, and disaster does arrive. Walkers breach the walls multiple times due to lapses in security or sheer numerical overwhelm. Human enemies also exploit soft targets. Strike groups that find Alexandria vulnerable because its residents aren't mentally or physically prepared for the brutal world outside. These breaches prove that walls are only as good as the community mindset behind them. The ugly truth is that walls often breed overconfidence and a false sense of security. Residents lose their edge, skills dull, and the cruel realities out there start to feel distant, even irrelevant. Without hardening those walls with discipline, drills, and brutal honesty about threats, the barriers become liabilities. Rick's repeated speeches to Alexandria hammer home the need to institutionalize survival as a community-wide project, not just an individual effort. Combat training can't be just a one-time thing. It has to be embedded in daily life, alongside constant threat modeling, what new dangers might emerge, how enemies think, how herds move. Alexandria's failures are lessons in what happens when those routines slip. Fan debates often circle around this tension, the balance between hope and realism, empathy and toughness. Some viewers want Alexandria to be a beacon of rebuilding civilization, emphasizing kindness and openness. Others argue that those ideals are luxuries that cost lives, if not backed by ruthless discipline. Questions about militarizing civilians also come up. How far can you push a community before it loses what makes it human? But here's the kicker. The Walking Dead doesn't say you shouldn't build walls, or that trust is impossible. It says you can't let those walls be excuses to get soft. Real security is psychological and cultural, not just physical. The ultimate defense is a survival mindset, collective toughness, unquestioning vigilance, and the brutal acceptance that you are always in a fight, inside and outside the walls. So, walls are double-edged swords. They can protect, but they can also dull instincts and breed vulnerability. If you think physical barriers guarantee safety, Alexandria's story is your warning. The communities that survive longest are the ones who refuse to soften behind their fortifications, who treat every day as survival training, and who accept that complacency kills faster than any walker bite. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.